Everybody, let me welcome everybody to Senate meeting number 4, which is also the last meeting of the semester. We may have a little difference in the scheduling depending on Dr. Olson, who's been a little bit delayed, but I thought we would go ahead and get started. I'd like to start by doing a sound check. First of all, can everybody, I'm at Polly, can everybody hear me? Chuck, are everybody all right there?
We can hear you fine, Arnie.
Okay, great. So how about West? Can you hear me out there?
Loud and clear.
That's nice to hear. And downtown?
We're here.
Everything's good?
Everything's great. All good.
Okay, great. Thank you, Tom. All right. Then the next thing we want to do is do a quorum calculation. So the first thing, Chuck, would you put up the usual stuff? And everybody can tell us where they are. I really can't see the pictures, so Chuck, you're going to have to kind of honcho this.
Okay, Arnie. They're still going up a little bit. 77 right now.
Okay.
Okay. He's going to come down and help you there, Hugh. Arnie, we have a couple of clicker problems here at Tempe, so just hang on 1 second.
Sure.
Still working on them, Arnie. Almost there.
Okay. Let us know. By the way, I'm assuming we don't have problems at the other campuses. I hope that's correct.
So we've got 96. I'll close the vote.
Thank you. 7 at West, 11 here. Could be right.
11 we're giving out here. So.
All right, I think we've got everybody accounted for here, so that's good. Okay, then we will try the usual. Actually, it's not the usual question. This is one that comes from the Senate office. So go ahead and put that one up, if you would, Chuck.
Oh, sorry.
Okay. There we go. So I encourage everybody to have a look at that.
Votes are still coming in, Arnie.
Okay, good. I'm sure everybody will get this right. So.
Okay, last call. We got 93 votes.
Well, a lot of people got it right, but not everybody. Why don't you tell them the right answer, Chuck?
It's all of these places is the correct answer.
We are duly authorized through all the various levels. Okay, before we get started on everything else, let me emphasize to people a couple of things. If we lose the picture, but we keep the audio, we'll continue. If we lose the audio, we'll take a 10-minute break. And if we're still out, then we'll have to call the meeting. But I haven't seen that happen in quite some time, so I think we're good. If you are in another campus, please feel free to be rude and butt in, because I can't necessarily see everybody or even everybody's hands. So especially the folks who have the responsibility at the other campuses, go ahead and be rude. And we'll see how things go after that. And finally, if you do want to speak, identify yourself, please, and your unit. That way we can get the minutes right. And we're still talking about how we're going to circulate the minutes on a regular basis, but that'll be for another time. Chuck, is Morgan there yet?
Yes, Morgan's here, Arnie.
Great. Well, then let me introduce Morgan Olson, who is the Executive Vice President and Treasurer, as well as the CFO of Arizona State University, and he has some remarks about a very exciting project as well as some other things. So go ahead, take it away.
Can you hear me all right? Sounds like you should be able to. So for those of you that don't know, I'm Morgan Olson, the university's Chief Financial Officer. I do have a little presentation for you this afternoon. As your chair indicated, I wanted to talk to you a little bit about Novus, which is the branded name that has been created for the ASU Athletic Facilities District, and I'll tell you a little bit more about what that means. I hope you've heard a little bit about it, and I suspect why Arnie was interested in having me talk about it just a little bit. But I thought I would start here with, there's supposed to be a video here, which doesn't appear to be showing up. Yeah, okay, well, so there was a cool video that I will not show you, so well, just trust me, it was awesome and you would have loved it. But what I did want to do is sort of orient you to what we're doing and why we're doing it. So Novus is the brand name for this district that we were authorized to create by the Legislative Assembly back in 2010. And as you know, ASU has a number of locations throughout the valley that are depicted on the slide in front of you here. We have the 5 campuses, including the most recent addition to the family being the Thunderbird campus in Glendale, all of which are on the map, as well as some additional locations. You know, we have a location in California, in Santa Monica. We have a location actually for a couple more weeks. We have 2 locations in Washington, D.C. that will be consolidating into our new center in D.C. that will be opening very shortly here. And then, of course, we have additional locations in which we do some specific things in the way of innovation. So you see all of those on the map here. I'm not going to spend a lot of time going into those in detail, other than to note the one in the green box there, the Novus Innovation Corridor, is the one that I wanted to talk about today, which will be located essentially at the north end of our campus. If you sort of think about the T that is created by Rio Salado running east-west and then north-south Rural Road, that is essentially the area in which we'll be developing this district. And these are the goals of Novus. Initially was established as a tool to generate resources that we could reinvest in our intercollegiate athletics facilities. As some of you may have heard President Crow say a time or two, you know, there's some irony. Of course, we have all of the big professional sports here in the Valley. Some of us are fans of one or more of those, but they are all for-profit enterprises, and all of them have had some level and type of private or rather public investment, usually in their facilities, et cetera. And you know, here we are as a nonprofit public university, and the same has not been forthcoming for the university. In order for us to be competitive at the highest levels of intercollegiate athletics competition, be in that game, there are significant investments that are required. So what the legislature did do, with some urging from us, of course, was to create this opportunity, and each one of the 3 public universities in the state actually has the same opportunity to create a district in which they can do essentially commercial development to generate revenue, and that revenue can be reinvested in our intercollegiate athletics facilities. And from your standpoint, of course, I know you're primarily interested in the academic enterprise. That's our core mission. What that does help us do is ensure that you know, we are not using resources that ought to be focused entirely on teaching and learning and research and public service, And so it's a nice opportunity from that standpoint, really kind of a tool or an instrumentality. That's how we started thinking about this, but really we realized pretty quickly it was much more of an opportunity than that, and that's how we're now thinking about it, why it's been branded Novus, and why we're intending to do some of the things you see on the slide here in terms of creating this urban mixed-use smart city development at the Tempe campus. When we first showed this to the then city manager for the city of Tempe, he listened to the presentation and said, you know, this will absolutely redefine downtown Tempe. And we think that's true. We think that it absolutely will. We think it's an opportunity to display a lot of the great things that people here at ASU are doing in terms of the best practices in sustainability, in terms of the partnerships that we have between the university and other organizations, both public and private, and also, you know, thinking back to our design aspirations, helping develop society and to be responsible for the economic and social development of the communities in which we operate. All of those things we believe will be possible with Novus. So that's how we're thinking about it today. There's just a lot of synergy that we think that we can leverage here. We've been working on this, as I said, since about 2011. But we're right now at a point where we're sort of at this inflection point that we think is pretty exciting, and that's what I want to talk to you about a little bit today. So what you're seeing here is a depiction of the master development plan for that area. It's about 300 acres in total. All of this is land that is not currently being used for any of the core purposes of the university, although there are, as you can see, some existing athletic venues on there, and where venues have been, they will have to move as this is developed over time. And so there's a lot of complexity to this, I will tell you. One of the first things that we did was that we took a look at our campus master plan for the Tempe campus. And a campus master plan is basically sort of a blueprint. You know, it's written in pencil as opposed to in pen. In other words, there is some flexibility built into it because circumstances and opportunity and other factors will change over time. And we're thinking about 5, 10, 15, 20 years here. And so we want to allow for a certain amount of flexibility. We want to use this master plan as a guidepost so that we can be thinking about the types of opportunities and challenges that we have. And in this case, the first thing we wanted to make sure we did is assure ourselves that we have enough physical space, enough land to do the things that we need to do in teaching, research, and service before we said, hey, we're willing to commit this to this particular use. We did do that. As I said, came up with an area of about 300 acres at sort of the north end of the Tempe campus, right along Tempe Town Lake. We also, though, had to layer this with other plans. So clearly, we have athletic facilities in this area. So athletics also has a facilities master plan. We needed to make sure that we weren't in a situation where we had to say to a given team, soccer team, just to pick one for example, well gosh, we don't know where you're going to play next year because we're going to build apartments where your field is. That was not going to work. So we had to make sure that everything in terms of facilities master plan for athletics accommodated student athlete needs and the needs that we have, you know, when we serve as a host to the community, as we often do for our intercollegiate athletic events. And then finally, we also had to sort of interweave this with what's happening with downtown Tempe. Those of you who hang around in Tempe, I've been here about 9 years. It's almost mind-boggling how much change that there's been, and that the arc of that change, I think, has accelerated in the last 3-4 years. I mean, something as simple as, you know, within walking distance of my building, you know, the options for where to go to lunch, I think they've multiplied at least threefold in the time that I've been here, which is less than a decade. And so just one example of the physical change that we're seeing. So we had to make sure that all of those things fit together. And of course, the city of Tempe, for very good reasons, was interested in how that was going to work, various aspects of the university, et cetera. So we were sort of layering in 3 different physical planning elements here in terms of putting this together. And of course, at the end of the day, this also has to be responsive to what the needs are from the community in terms of, you know, opportunities for developing particular types of space, et cetera. This next chart is a little bit busy, and you may not be able to read all the print on it from the back of the room at least, so apologize in advance for that. But what this shows is the various types of projects that we believe will be in this area. And remember again, this is largely for other uses other than core university purposes here. But we're going to have commercial office buildings here that we think will be a nice opportunity, for example, for companies that are interested in working with the university in various ways. Maybe it's commercializing intellectual property that was created at ASU, and they want to be close to that and close to the creators of that IP. This will be an opportunity for that to occur. We have a broad range of partnerships with public and private sector organizations. We believe this will be an opportunity for them as well. So you can see that. You also can see that we anticipate having multifamily residential here. This is not intended to be student housing, although we would not prohibit students from living here, but our target profile actually is for people who are already out in the working world. May be great for faculty and staff, may be great for people who are close to their places of employment, but we are trying to incorporate the best principles of new urbanism so that we don't perpetuate the sprawl that's already occurred in the Valley as it has in other large population centers in the U.S., but we give an opportunity for people to live close to where they work and where they play. So with respect to that play part, we anticipate that there will be hospitality and service retail and places to eat that will be involved here as well. And then, of course, we have to locate all of our athletic venues. So you see sort of the dark green areas there, and I'm not going to go into great detail with this today, but every sport that needs to be supported, whether it's teams like our new women's lacrosse or our men's ice hockey teams, or if it's things that we've known about for a long, long time, men's and women's basketball, all of those need to be accommodated, and it needs to be done in a sequence where we're not essentially, putting somebody out before we have a new place that will be equal or better for them to go. So a lot of stuff happening there. You can kind of see the whole area here. As a general principle, as we get closer, as we go north toward Tempe Town Lake, the height of buildings is expected to go higher. You already see that starting to happen. It's part of the city of Tempe's general plan. It's where the market seems to want to go, and so we anticipate that this will develop in that way as well. So, where are we with this? Well, phase one of Novus is actually in place. You probably noticed the 5 big shiny buildings that sit along Tempe Town Lake just to the west of Rural, right before you cross the bridge. That is one of 3 regional hubs for the State Farm Automobile Insurance Company. That's about 2 million gross square feet. They eventually will have somewhere between 8,000 and 10,000 employees in this location. So it's a fantastic opportunity in terms of economic development and in terms of opportunities for our students, many of whom now work there, through internships, or they work there part-time while they're in their data analytics program or whatever it may be, but also a great opportunity for them to start a career with a Fortune 45 company. And so this is an investment that was made not with university funds, but with private sector funds. The university owns the land and received a prepaid long-term ground lease, and we will receive a revenue stream over time annually for their being there as well, and as part of the revenue that Novus is generating that we'll use then to reinvest in our intercollegiate athletics facilities. So that was phase one, pretty exciting. They could have gone anywhere in the country. State Farm ultimately chose to locate in Atlanta, a suburb of Dallas, and Tempe, Arizona. And so that was hotly contested, and we were really pleased to come out on the right end of that one. And now all we have to do is do that a whole bunch more times. So phase two, some of you may have been here this weekend. That is Sun Devil Stadium, and one of the first areas, in fact it is the first area in which we are investing some of this revenue stream. We are making a significant investment in Sun Devil Stadium. We've already we've got one more phase that started today. Last game was on Saturday. We rolled in today, and we will be demolishing the lower bowl on the east side, new seating. We'll create more space between the upper and lower bowls where we'll put in some additional premium amenities, much as has occurred on the west side of the stadium. Behind the upper east bowl, you kind of see a depiction there of some space. That actually is going to be enclosed space, and one of the most important things is what we're calling Sun Devil 365. Which means that rather than use this pretty expensive facility a few days a year for some football games and a commencement or two, and then maybe one or 2 things, and otherwise it sits idle, our goal is to make sure that this is used all around the year, hence the 365 days a year. So we anticipate academic uses, we certainly anticipate community uses, recreational uses, etc. And so we are in the middle of making the changes physically and operationally to the stadium that we'll need to be able to facilitate and support all of that. So that is phase two of the development of Novus. And phase 3, which is, you see here, is really what we're focused on right now. And this happens to be the northwest corner of Rural Road and University Drive. So if you were to go out to that intersection today, you would see construction fencing up there with some signage for Novus, etc. And here we are planning a number of things, including some commercial office buildings. The first one, yep, it does work. The first commercial office building that's being planned would be right there. And that'd be one of three, 1, 2, 3 ultimately. We also will have multifamily housing in this location. Again, not focused not necessarily towards students, but people that we think will live and work in the area of Novus. We believe that we will have a hotel or perhaps 2 in this location, conveniently located next to our performance venues. So when we get alumni and people traveling from other places in to participate in those events, that'll be a convenient place for them to stay. And then this is what we're currently calling G Street here, that we think we'll have some of these amenities in terms of places for people to meet, to eat, entertainment, convenience retail, those types of things as well. And then, of course, we will have the inevitable parking structure in there to make sure that everybody has a place to park without parking in all of our parking spaces. So one of the things that we're doing as we plan this, and certainly something that President Crow has encouraged, is to think about connectivity with the core university campus. And so on the other side of, and I apologize, it's a little bit hard to follow perhaps, but that is University Drive right there. So this corner we acquired, this is the southwest corner of that same university and rural intersection. We gained control of a couple of years ago. It wasn't easy to do that, but we were successful in doing that. We will be building a research building, ISTB-7, on that building, so you sort of see that depicted here. But we have essentially this whole block as an opportunity to extend our Tempe campus research district. Some of you are familiar with ISTB-4, the Biodesign Complex. Of course, we've got Biodesign C now closed in and be open before we know it. So this will be an extension to the north there, but we want to make sure that there's great connectivity. So we have sort of our mini equivalent of the High Line, the New York City High Line here, which ideally will span the street, so you don't have to play Frogger trying to get through the east-west traffic on University, and will allow for people physically to move back and forth between Novus and the research part of our campus easily. So very focused on this right now, and we are hopeful that multifamily will be coming out of the ground within the next year, and the first commercial office building not much longer than that. Here is a conception, not a full design, but a conception of what ISTB-7 might look like. And again, this will host the Global Institute of Sustainability, so we expect it to be sort of an exemplar or the reflection of best practices of sustainability. We keep raising the bar there. As some of you know, we opened the Student Pavilion, which was the university's first net zero building. In other words, it generates more energy than it uses. Pretty exciting. And again, another LEED, probably LEED Platinum certified building as well. But we want this building that is going to host faculty and others who are working on sustainability and other things like energy, food, and water issues. We want them to be in a showcase building that reflects the best practices and opportunities in those areas. And so this is a concept of how that might look. And just again, to orient yourself, that would be university going that way and rural kind of going that way. And you can sort of see, again, the conception of the span over university to make it easy to get back and forth. Here is a look at G Street from University to the north, give you sort of a sense. Again, these are still renderings, conceptions. We're right in the middle of detailed design on this, but you can see sort of the street level experience with the opportunity for people to meet and to collaborate, discuss ideas, etc. Similarly, another depiction of the area, we want this to be seen as a place where people are eager to come. And again, another alternative view of that, you can get a sense for how some of the buildings might look. In this area, we expect the buildings will probably be in the 4 to 6 story range, and then higher, maybe 15 stories or more as we get out toward the lake, similar to what you're starting to see develop there as well. And the final slide here that I would just mention very quickly is one of the things that we've really focused on to a significant extent is the interconnectivity. And that would be true whether you're in a vehicle, you're riding a bike. We have over 17,000 bicycles on this campus that are pretty hard to avoid, sometimes literally as well as figuratively on this campus. So we have an opportunity here, we think, to design in, dedicated bike lanes, and we're going to try to do that to the maximum extent that we can. But we also want this to be very walkable, and we want there to be corridors for people to do that. And you can kind of see some of those called out, because we want this to be a place where it's easy for people to get together, it's easy for people to collaborate. It would be a great location for people who are so inclined, to live fairly close to where they work, and then if they want to take, their family out to dinner or to do some shopping, that type of thing, that they'll be able to do that as well. So that's the short and sweet of it on Novus. We think you'll be hearing a lot more about that as time goes on here, but for those of us who hang out on the Tempe campus, it's going to be more of the same. In other words, more physical change in the environment, and it's a little bit like highway construction, no pain, no gain. But at the end of the day, we think it will also result in a much better place for all of us in terms of being a great place to live and to work and do the other things that we do in our lives. So I will stop with that. And Arnie, I'm not sure if you're presiding there someplace or what, but if there are questions, I'd be happy to address them.
I think we can take one question from each campus if you like. Let me see what we've got. West, any questions there?
Yes, we do have one. We actually have a question about the West Campus, which has about 100 acres of empty land. So we are curious if there are any plans for these 200 acres.
Okay, I think I heard at least part of that. I think what was asked about is we've got some additional acreage on the West Campus. Does the university have any plans for that? Did I sort of get it?
Yes.
Yes, you got it.
Yes, so we have a master plan, a campus master plan for each one of our campuses, certainly including the West Campus. And we've made, the university has made some significant investments in the West Campus. We've probably put about $60 million of capital investment into the West Campus in the last 4 or 5 years. We have created what President Crow likes to call an academic village, by which he means that we have purpose-built residential housing for first-year students. We have an accompanying dining hall, and we have a place for students to maintain their physical selves in our Sun Devil Fitness there. It's an absolutely gorgeous facility, all in sort of a co-located area. But the questioner is right. We do have significant additional acreage, and yes, at some point, I'm sure we will use that in productive ways. We only have one athletic facilities district opportunity. That's what the law provides, and we've decided for a variety of reasons that would be in Tempe. But I could anticipate that there will come a time where there will be the right opportunity there for things that will be accretive to the university experience at the West Campus. So what do I mean by that? What I mean is that we expect that campus to grow. Our plans are that we're going to have at least 15,000 students at the West Campus, and so we want all of the infrastructure to grow, so that's a great experience for all Sun Devils. We would like to see some additional convenience amenities. It might be housing. It might be some residential. We've had some other business-related ideas that have been suggested. And, one of the things about that type of development is that, the demand has to be there. The market demand is very important, but I anticipate that some of that land there will, at the appropriate time, develop in a way similar to some of the things we're talking about here with the Tempe campus. But we will, we wouldn't, without naming any names, there are things that we could probably do today that we might make some money on, but we don't think they would be the right things for the long-term physical development of the ASU West community, the university community, and so we probably wouldn't do those, and we're waiting for exactly the right opportunity. And when that comes, obviously we'll be happy to share that with people, because we've made a significant investment there, and we expect that campus to grow.
Okay, downtown.
Yes, one of our senators raised the question about the impact of traffic. That's already an impacted area. How do you plan to address that?
Well, that is a great question. The question was about traffic. How do we anticipate addressing that? We've been working hard on that. We went to the city of Tempe actually a couple of years ago and suggested to them that it would be a good idea for us, meaning the university and the city, to jointly study, parking needs, traffic needs, pedestrian safety and throughput, all of those things collaboratively, which we have done. We went out and hired a consulting firm that specializes in those types of things. We have identified a number of projects. Some of these are small, relatively, in the transportation world, and things that either the city or the university probably will fund. Others of them will have to work together and will be big enough in some cases where we might actually require additional investment, whether it's from the metropolitan area governments. MAG, as some of you may be familiar with, is often an investor in projects that benefit the larger community in the valley. And then, of course, the federal government actually is a major investor in large-scale transportation projects, and so we anticipate that some of those things might be of a scale where we would need that. We all know, those of us who drive around the valley, and particularly in downtown Tempe, that the places continue to grow, and with that has come additional traffic, whether it's foot traffic, vehicular traffic, or even people on mopeds, bicycles, segways, you name it. It's just like they're coming from all directions. So that is something we need to continue to work on, and there is actually a list that has been put together that is under consideration now jointly between the university and the city of Tempe that we think are projects that make sense that will help with all of these things, including additional parking. So I anticipate that we will have a parking structure that I pointed out on the Phase 3 location at the northwest corner of University and Rural. We probably will have an additional parking structure that will be at University and Mill, all in the way of trying to make sure that as we use the land that we have available to us in more productive ways, we aren't forgetting that we all have to get here somehow, and for those of us who arrive in vehicles, there has to be a place to put those while we hang out here at the university. So, it will be in an urban environment, and we will continue to encourage people to think about alternative transportation where that's possible. The university is about 30% of the traffic volume on Valley Metro, the light rail. The city of Tempe has determined they're going to invest in the modern streetcar technology that will move people around sort of within the downtown area. And there will probably be more to come. We're even talking about things like autonomous vehicles and how do we, provide for that possibility. The state of Arizona is now sort of an acknowledged leader in that, and so how do we participate and best plan for those types of possibilities? So thinking about all those things, and we need to, because I suspect that there will be, some impacts, some adjustments that we'll all have to make, and we're trying to make sure that those are reasonable ones and ones that are well thought out.
One question here. I don't see any at Poly. Shirley, are there questions at Tempe?
Yes, we have one question at Tempe. Please identify yourself.
I'm Dave Wells. I've got two comments, not really a question. The first one is you're largely replacing a golf course and you're replacing it with asphalt and concrete and so forth. So in terms of sustainability, the heat island effect, I think the university ought to take greater thought to the impact that has on the environment, as well as the need for public recreational spaces that aren't used by athletes. The second one, this still works, is I think this is a very sad commentary on the state of higher education today, that the university has these assets and they're going to be devoted to athletics. We just fired our football coach. He's owed $12 million, or roughly $4,000 for every single faculty member on this university over the next 4 years. And we've had our budget cut by the state by roughly in half or more. And we have this nice asset, and instead it's going to be used for athletics instead of for broader higher education purposes. And I think that's very sad. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for your comment. So I will try to address a little bit your first suggestion with respect to sustainability. We are definitely spending a lot of time on various sustainability considerations as we plan Novus, and I think that the level of design that we'll have and the amenities that we incorporate in Novus will reflect that. We do anticipate having a series of community green spaces as part of Novus. That we think will, they'll be there to enjoy for students, for faculty and staff, for the public. We will have more, hardscape, if you will, and I don't think there's any question about that. We provided, for another golf course. The Papago Golf Course is now being managed by a nonprofit entity that the university created, so that will be a place for Sun Devil men's and women's golf to play. One could probably make the argument that there's some benefit from that as well. We know that housing and similar developments actually use about half the water that agriculture and golf courses use. So from a water use standpoint, that will be beneficial. At the same time, I think the point about hardscape is an important one, the urban heat line effect, and so things like green roofs and low energy use buildings and making sure that we have the right design for these buildings, passive cooling, chilled beam technology, lots of other things that we're starting to do with our buildings, definitely needs to be incorporated here. That's a little bit of a challenge. Some of those things are things that in the private commercial development world they don't necessarily do all the time. We're pushing to get as much of that as we can for some of the reasons that you talked about there. So I appreciate the comment.
Okay. Morgan, thank you very much. We appreciate the efforts, and we'll look forward to seeing how this plays out.
Absolutely.
So I should thank Morgan, please. All right. We next go to the UAC Chair's report. That's me. So let me start by saying, interestingly enough, on sustainability, the Senator Spotlight this month is Marco Janssen. If I pronounce it right, I'm not sure I got that right. Marco is a full professor over in sustainability, and we're very happy to have him here. He's done a lot of work over the years in things like human systems interfaces. I guess I would leave the rest of that to him. But in terms of decisions that are made around these kinds of issues, so it'll be great to have him on the Senate. I'd also like to announce that Donna Cataldo from downtown will be the president-elect of the Senate for the rest of the year. And Donna has been very active. She was president of the downtown campus, and she is also, I'm not sure I should let you know this, but she's also on the Learning Management System Selection Committee. So the difference between Blackboard and Canvas, you get to talk to Donna, not to me. Preference survey is out. Chris has gotten that out. Please nominate yourself or others for the presidencies of the campuses if you're interested in that, as well as the key committees that we elect people to. That includes Committee on Academic Freedom and Tenure and a couple of others. So please get that survey back. We will be looking at that a couple of weeks, I think. Let me also talk about what happened down at the Regents meeting, which was a week and a half ago or 2 weeks ago, whatever. We were fortunate to be able to raise 3 issues for the Regents. One is academic freedom. And it turns out when you look at what's in the ABOR, the Arizona Board of Regents policy, it doesn't really talk about academic freedom. So we've suggested to the Regents that they look at that very carefully. And hopefully we will be involved in that conversation as well. The second thing that came up was a question or a concern about how many of our non-tenure eligible folks are on continuing contracts. We've recommended to the Regents that they give each university flexibility in terms of what percentage that should be. We don't know where that's going to go. Right now the Regents have a hard number of 15%, but NAU already has a waiver. So we'll see how that goes. Final thing we did, through our representative, was voice support for the current approach to sexual assaults and sexual assault deliberations. As you may know, the Secretary of Education has decided that that is not appropriate, and she is withdrawing some of that guidance as we speak. We believe that the current situation serves the students well, and hope that it will be continuing. In terms of nominations from the Senate, I have 2 that I would like to bring up to people. First of all, there will be a breakfast with the Regents on February the 9th from about 7:45 to 9 in the morning. We always have faculty there. That's who the Regents want to talk to. So if you are interested in doing that and have something you would like to say, not in terms of policy, but in terms of things you would like to showcase that you're doing at the university, innovative things, exciting things, things that really engage the students, I would encourage you to nominate yourself or get your senators to nominate you. And we will be happy to look at that. There's a limited number of seats, so there will be a selection process, and don't ask me what that's going to be like because I don't know. It depends on who we get. Second thing is we have a general education task force forming under Vice Provost Fred Corey. I would ask you again, if you're interested in participating in that reevaluation of general education, that you get with me or with your senators. Since we have mostly senators in the room, I should say you nominate somebody from your units as well. Again, we have a limited number of seats on that, and we will be looking at selections pretty fast because Fred needs to get started, or so I understand the provost has told him. So we need to get him started. We will have a committee co-chair for the faculty as well as regular committee members on that. So please let us know in the Senate office if you have people you think will do well on a general education task force. We're looking for a variety of disciplines on that one. Okay. Service recognition letters will go out. I signed them last week in front of the TV. So they will go out in December, and they can be reflected in your annual evaluation so that your various unit heads will understand that there is a significant investment of time to be part of the Senate. Finally, if you have, I will just give you a general notice that if there are concerns about course adoptions, in other words, as you look at the courses that are planned to be on the consent agenda, which we publish every month, please let us know in the Senate office, because we will do everything we can to make sure that everybody is represented if those course discussions take place at the Senate. So anybody who has concerns about a particular course, let us know. Please do that by noon on Friday before the Senate meeting so that we can coordinate any considerations that we may have. Finally, the dean searches that we have are pretty close to done. They're well into the interview and process. That's nursing and humanities over at class. We have a Pac-12 representative from the Senate that has been approved. That's Shirley Rose, and she will be going to the Pac-12 meetings with us. And let's see. I don't think there's anything else other than you can expect interim reports from the task forces that are available. That's the non-tenure eligible task force and the online education task force, hopefully in January. So we will see what things look like. I've been going to the meetings, and I can tell you they've been lively. With that, I would like to introduce Becky Ladd, the chair of the Personnel Committee. As you know, we're looking at committees, one committee each month, and Becky has some things she'd like to say and to address the Senate with. So take it away, Becky.
We're going to do something a little bit different today. Yes, the PC has identified merit pay and those related issues as continuing in high importance to our faculty. So as we're getting together and planning how to address these concerns, we really wanted to make sure that we had a good feel for what those concerns are. So we actually want to solicit feedback. So rather than just talking to you, I would like for you to talk to me. So we're going to solicit some feedback from you kind of about your understanding of the policies as well as your satisfaction with the process of merit raises. So it's just our intention right now to just help faculty feel included, and we want you to be involved and engaged in this process. And then we also want to be able to use that so that our collective experiences, views, and voices are heard. So I'm going to start with actually 3 clicker questions. So get your clickers ready. Yes, we don't just have to do courses. And I don't know, is the system working yet? Are we going to be able to show the results? Okay. And then after we do these clicker questions, just to get kind of a quantitative general view of where your views and perspectives are, we'd like to open it up just for a few minutes. I don't know how long we're going to limit that, just so people could share their experiences and views with us, kind of more expanding. So if we could have the first question. So how satisfied are you with the way merit raises are distributed within your unit? So if you could just answer very satisfied to very dissatisfied. right, sounds good. Oh, 101. We
Last
103.
call on the votes. We'll close it now.
Okay, and we're going to be able to keep this, so looks like we're a little near on the dissatisfied, neutral to dissatisfied. Okay, let's go ahead and put the second question up. This one has more to do about your understanding, so I know some of us know more about the system than others. So based on how much you understand how the process works, how satisfied are you? So the first two are about being very aware. Skip to C and D if you don't know too much about the process. Then we'll have an open forum.
Okay, last call for voting.
We're at 102 now. So most of you know very little but want to know more. Okay, that's good. And the last clicker question. And this one kind of has to do with what you think about whether or not we're going to get raises. Does that motivate you and excite you or have no impact on you?
All right, last call for voting.
Great. No impact. Wow, that increases. Okay. Hopefully those of you that say decreases might talk to us at the mic. Let us know why that might be. Okay, let's open up the floor. Just take, shall I start at Polly perhaps? See if there are
Yeah,
any
why don't we start here? Anybody have a comment?
or issues that you'd like for us to consider in the Personnel Committee? Or things about transparency process?
I don't see any questions here, so go ahead, Becky.
Okay, how about West?
No, we do not have a question right now.
No questions or comments or concerns? And then downtown?
Questions? 1 minute.
How the, maybe it's something that Brian will know, but how is the performance of FAR related to the parent increase?
Are we preparing questions or should we be hearing?
Yes. So the question is, how is the performance to
Evaluation
to the merit evaluation?
How is the FAR, basically how is performance evaluation of the FAR related to a merit increase?
So the question is, how is the FAR related to the merit increase?
So how basically do our annual reports, how do those map on? So what we can ask then is for transparency and what that has to do with the merit increases. So how do our units use that? Good question. I think that speaks to our motivation to what to. Okay. Anything else? If you were asking, wanting an answer, I don't have that for you. Anything in Tempe then that you would like to consider? And you also may email me. And hope this was somewhat engaging or fun. Does anybody have feedback on that? Would you like more questions from your chairs? More involvement? Oh, that's a rhetorical question. Okay, well, thank you very much. This will be helpful, and we'll keep you posted on what we do next.
She didn't answer the question, right?
I don't think she has the answer quite yet, but anyway. Next is Caroline Harrison with the new business CAPS motions.
Thank you. The following motions will be taken up by CAPC this Thursday. If you have any comments or questions on these or what is listed in Appendix A, please get them to me as soon as you can. In addition, these new business motions will be, after they have gone through CAPC, will be brought back to the Senate at the next Senate meeting in January 29th, 2018. A request from the College of Liberal Arts and Sciences, School of Historical, Philosophical, and Religious Studies for the disestablishment of an undergraduate certificate, East Asian Studies. Request from the College of Liberal Arts and Sciences, School of Mathematical and Statistical Sciences for the establishment of a graduate degree, Actuarial Science. Request from the Ira A. Fulton Schools of Engineering Dean's Office for the disestablishment of an undergraduate certificate, Technology Entrepreneurship. A request from the College of Public Service and Community Solutions, Dean's Office for the establishment of an undergraduate certificate, Cross-Sector Leadership. Request from the College of Public Service and Community Solutions, School of Criminology and Criminal Justice for the establishment of an undergraduate certificate, Law and Human Behavior. Request from the College of Public Service and Community Solutions, School of Community Resources and Development for the establishment of an undergraduate degree, BS in Tourism and Recreation Management.
Thanks very much, Caroline. Again, if you have any comments or questions on these, please do get to Caroline this week. She will be meeting on these, I believe, on Thursday. In terms of old business, I would like to point out there is a new course proposal consent agenda on the table. It was distributed on November 15th. So if anyone has a reason to pull a course off the consent agenda, please let us know right now. And let me go campus by campus. Anybody here at Poly want to pull a course off? Okay, nobody at Poly. Downtown?
Anybody? We're good, thank you.
Okay, West?
Yeah, good.
Okay, anybody at Tempe? Shirley?
You have someone at the mic.
Okay.
Identify yourself.
Volker Benkert, I represent the Faculty of History, and we would like to pull 3 courses of the agenda, CEL 485, CEL 305, and CEL 320, because they overlap with courses that we teach in history. And for easiness sake, we provided a list of how they overlap with our courses.
All right. Those come off the consent agenda. At this point, let me first ask for a vote on the rest of the courses. Can we do that, Chuck?
Yeah, give me just a second, Arnie. I have to adjust the voting question.
Can I request from the chair to speak?
Arnie, we have another person at the mic here in Tempe.
Okay, that's fine. Who else is it, please?
Please identify yourself.
Yes, as Professor Maltz knows, I'm Paul Carisse. I'm the director of the new School of Civic and Economic Thought and Leadership. The course designation is CEL. This is the second University Senate meeting at which, to my surprise, and I think everybody else's surprise, a faculty member within class has stood up to request that our courses be pulled from the consent agenda. During the past month, I met with faculty from the School of Social Transformation, as well as the director of that school, Professor Moore, to discuss the concerns raised by those faculty for requesting courses being pulled from the consent agenda in October. I've been around for almost a year around here, and I haven't exactly been hiding. We have a very aggressive public affairs agenda. We've had major speakers on campus every month. This semester, we've had, if the mic's still working, we have lots of media notices about our events. I'm not in hiding. This curriculum for this school has gone through all of the normal processes in the College of Arts and Sciences for a new curriculum, and there was an extended debate in the college's curriculum committee, then another extended debate in the college's Senate, the faculty Senate. There was a vote at the college's faculty Senate. There were members from Shippers, the department of the school, of the faculty member who's just stood up to object. All of that representation has gone through. We passed a vote 3-1 at the college faculty Senate. I'm wondering what else the school could possibly do to prevent other faculty members from not notifying me in any way whatsoever in advance and just standing up at a university Senate meeting to object to our courses being on the consent agenda. I've attended a full immersion meeting with Shippers. I did that last semester. I've been at all these other meetings. I've tried to make myself available for anybody who has questions, concerns, comments. Nobody has contacted me in advance of these meetings to suggest they have any problem. And finally, as the university Senate president just said, it would seem to be a normal collegial university courtesy to members of the university Senate as well as to the school director to notify somebody in advance that you would stand up at a university Senate meeting and request stripping courses from a school's curriculum. One other request, can we take a vote on whether or not, I mean, is it unilaterally one faculty Senate member can stand up and request courses be withdrawn, or can the Senate vote on this?
Excuse me. This is a parliamentarian. I have a point of order. We need to first vote on the consent agenda as it is without the items that were pulled. Then we can go into a discussion of the items that were pulled.
Chuck, please put up that consent agenda slide without the 3 courses, and let's get that out of the way.
Okay, for the benefit of the Senate, I'll read this because the font never comes up big when I do a custom question. So, do you approve the new course proposal consent agenda minus courses CEL 485, 305, and 320? Yes. Click A, no, B, C, abstain. Did I get the numbers wrong? I have minus courses CEL 485, 305, and 320. So it's only 305 and 320. Would the chair like me to amend the vote and retype it, or do we want to just verbally say that 485 is not included?
Please verbally say that 485 is not included.
Okay, this vote is to approve the consent agenda with CEL 305 and 320 removed. You may amend your vote. It'll select your last vote as the final vote on your clicker.
What did she say?
Arnie, there's 102 responses, so last call. So the consent agenda passes, 91 yes, 2 no, 9 abstain.
All right. So now we return to the discussion of the other two courses. And let me point out again that we asked specifically that we have prior notice of this. And that was made very clear after the last Senate meeting. Now, we are fortunate in this case that Professor Carice could be available, but understand that if he had not been available, this would have been a rerun of last time. So with that, let me open up the discussion. Shirley, I think you're probably going to have to handle it for Tempe. Are there any questions, concerns here at Poly?
Excuse me, Arnie,
Poly?
before we start.
Uh-huh.
I think we should follow the typical rules of debate. According to Robert's rules, each person
Fine.
gets a maximum of 2 bites at the apple.
Okay.
So it's not going to be a back and forth discussion. It will be a debate on the pros and the cons of accepting or not accepting this.
Thank you, Denise. I appreciate it. Somebody has to keep me straight somehow or other. It's not easy. Just ask my wife. But anyway, I don't see any discussion here at Poly. Oh, yes, there is some. Hang on.
This is Barbara Kinnish from the College of Education. What actually is the procedure? Can one person dissent and remove a course? Is that our policy?
Denise, you want to talk to that?
Yes, anything that is on a consent agenda. A consent agenda is basically things that are non-controversial. And so it's supposed to make the meetings go faster. If somebody does object to something that is on a consent agenda, they can pull it off for no reason. And then
For no reason.
For no reason. And it doesn't have to
Okay.
be seconded, nothing. That's just the rule. They can pull it off for no reason so that a discussion or debate can be had for that particular item.
And then further, the assumption on the courses on the consent agenda is that they have been voted on by the faculty in that program, the curriculum committee in that college, and the college's senate, should there be such a thing. Is that correct?
That is correct, and that's why it's put on the consent agenda, because it has already gone through all these gatekeepers.
And how would it get on there if it didn't go through those gatekeepers?
It can't.
It can't.
It cannot. It has to have gone through.
It has.
But people still can pull it, just because that's the rule.
Senators, keep in mind, pulling it doesn't mean it doesn't get a vote. It only means that it's going to be up for discussion and then voted on after discussion. So pulling it doesn't mean throwing it away or not handling it or dealing with it.
To reiterate what Chuck is saying, after we have the comments, we will have a vote on these two courses. Okay. Again, I don't see any other comments at Poly. Is there comments over at West?
No, we do not have any comments.
Okay. Downtown?
Comments? No comments downtown?
Okay, but I believe there were people still at the mic in Tempe. So Shirley, would you take it away?
We have someone at the mic at Tempe. Please identify yourself.
I'm Phil Vandermeer from the Emeritus College. Just to reiterate the point about this, why this comes for a vote, it's because at every level of this process, faculty have the right to voice their opinions about curriculum. This is the most important thing we do. It's something that's enshrined in university governance. We decide about that. So I was contacted by history faculty, and on these two courses, I would just say they look incredibly close. 305, history has, this is classical political philosophy and statesmanship, the Greeks. History 439 is Athenian democracy. It's essentially the same course. They've got the same reading. 320 is modern political thought, is very similar to foundations of democracy and history, the same kinds of readings. Now, I understand that the school here is starting up and one wants this to succeed. On the other hand, there are a variety of alternatives for courses, right? One is that you use existing courses and you work cooperatively, collaboratively with other departments. I'm not sure whether that's the case here. The second is cross-listing, but to create a course which simply duplicates existing courses is a bad kind of strategy. So I would encourage the Senate to vote to send these courses back to have the two units talk about them and figure out a collaborative process.
Paul Carice, the director for the School of Civic and Economic Thought and Leadership. To review the process that all of these courses have been through, I requested and received full support from the school director for Shippers. So the two faculty who are objecting here, coming from the history faculty, at that stage, they would have had an opportunity to respond to those concerns, to raise those concerns. They weren't raised at that level, and the school director gave complete approval as part of the college's curriculum committee review process. Then at the College Faculty Senate, again, this curriculum passed with a 3-to-1 vote after a very extensive discussion and meeting. The representatives from Shippers didn't raise these specific questions about these specific courses and overlap. It was understood that there was overlap with multiple departments and schools in the College of Arts and Sciences and beyond. But again, there was an opportunity to raise those questions then, have them debated, and to follow up with me personally afterward, and that didn't happen. Just to review the number of school directors and department heads from whom I've received approval at my dean, the dean and the provost requiring that I receive approval from the directors of the School of Politics and Global Studies for this curriculum, School of Historical, Philosophical, Religious Studies, the Economics Department in the W.T. Carey School of Business, the College of Public Service and Community Solutions, and 2 political science-related departments or programs on the West Campus and on the Poly Campus. And I received complete support for this curriculum from all of those school directors, department program heads. So again, I'm surprised that at this late stage in the process, particular faculty members who have not spoken to me and haven't done their research are stepping forward now to object. One final point. Each of these courses is going to be taught in a distinctive way because it's part of a larger package. I don't know of any curriculum quite like this in any department or program on ASU or any other college campus. This combination of history of moral and political thought, American political and constitutional thought, history of economic thought, all pointed toward a focus on leadership, statesmanship in the private sector, leadership and service in the public sector. That's a distinctive approach. Each particular course is a part of a distinctive package. And so you could list the syllabus. The readings could be identical. The courses could be quite different. Thank you.
We have another person at the mic. Please identify yourself again.
Yeah, Volker Benkert, History. I'll take my second bite from the apple. Just to clarify a few things, it's not just me stepping forward as a random faculty member, but we had a faculty meeting on Wednesday where we discussed and voted on how to proceed. Secondly, I want to clarify that the letter that my school director wrote in support of the school, as Professor Carice has mentioned, I've seen this letter. This letter is a general consent to the school and its curriculum, but it does not specify the courses. We, I think, make a very constructive argument here saying that certain courses overlap with what we're doing. And as a result of that, we are asking for these courses to be pulled. What do we aim to get from that? We hope for a continued conversation about these specific courses, and it is not at all an argument against the school. But it is fact that we have a certificate housed in our school that is very similar, also older, than what the new school will be doing, and it should not come as a surprise that we seek to protect that.
I think you've had your 2 turns.
That's right.
Sorry, you're muted.
Okay.
We have Denise at the mic now.
Oh, I should use mine.
Yeah, good.
Denise, you could come up here.
Or replace it. I'm all about process, and I think it's great that we have faculty members who are willing to step forward at any part of the process to let their ideas be known. I think that's great, and we shouldn't be berating anybody. We should be supportive because this is something we should be discussing as a faculty. I also believe that this process has gone through several people, and I believe in the process as it stands, and it's okay for us to say we're against it at some point and we can vote for it. At the same time, I know that there are statistics classes that are taught on this campus that are very similar, and some even use the same textbook, but they have different prefixes. So I am not that concerned about an overlap from what I understand, given that this has gone through committee and people have discussed that. Thank you.
We have another person coming to the mic. You're in Tempe. Please identify yourself.
Dave Kaufman from Department of Biomedical Informatics. I think I'll raise the mic up just a little bit. I have no horse in this race. Just listening to the arguments and understanding the process, I think the greater good is served by allowing this new program to move forward. I think they've done due diligence, and I think potentially the collaboration and working out the process can be done after the fact. I know that's not ideal, but I think that's a reasonable compromise given where we are at this point in time.
Anyone else?
It looks like we have one other person coming to the
If we're being asked to vote for this, I'm Hugh Barnaby from Electrical Engineering. If we're being asked to vote for this, we need to see what specific numbers. I mean, I just think I just heard them once on the list. And then I need to see what courses in history are conflicting with them. I feel like I'm completely ignorant here. There's no way I can vote for anything. I would be an immediate abstain. So please give us more information before we move forward.
Who has that information, please? Somebody, the folks in history, would you let me ask you to just come up and tell us which courses again are overlap? Either Phil can come up or somebody else.
Okay, so this is my third bite. So we are concerned about CAL 305, Classical Political Philosophy and Statesmanship, the Greeks, and we believe that this overlaps with HST 439, Athenian Democracy. The CAL course does examine, as it comes from its course description, Plato's Republic, Aristophanes' Aristotle's Politics and Ethics, and these are all things that our course covers as well. And the second course that we seek to poll is CAL 320, Modern Political Thoughts, Origins and Debates about Liberty, which we believe clashes with HST 112, Foundations of Democracies, which is the introductory course to our aforementioned certificate.
Thank you. Arnie, we have another person here at the mic in Tempe.
Right, I can see. Good.
So hopefully I'll finish this off. My opinion in this debate, having participated in it with the class senate, is we're going to get another bite at this apple with these courses because they still haven't done a degree proposal yet, is my understanding. So we have concerns of what's going on with SEL as fellow faculty. We are going to still have to see their whole body of work when they promote a full degree. So some of these concerns that I'm hearing are not necessarily about specific courses, but potentially what the degree is going to mature into. So in a sense, even saying yes to these courses now, they still have more courses than a whole degree to present to us, okay, is my understanding. And I think this debate should continue towards the goal of making sure the degree as a total is not significant overlap with, say, a history degree or a philosophy degree. And whether the students are getting something different, which is what SEL is telling us. And I think that is where we should be looking towards, instead of fighting over individual classes that have been cleared by class. That's my opinion.
All right. Relative to that, can I ask Caroline Harrison to come up and comment on the degree or lack of degree?
Okay, Arnie, we do have two other people. I'm not sure you're aware, two other people at the mic. Do you want Caroline to come up now?
I would like Caroline to come up directly to answer that question if she can. And then we'll have the other people talk.
Again, as was stated, at this point we've not seen the degree proposals that these courses go with, and the Senate will get several opportunities to comment on the degree and the programs as a whole. They'll be presented here. Well, they'll be going through the various departments and groups at ASU before they get to the Senate. Then they will be presented here and then discussed again at CAPC before a final vote at the Senate. So there are a number of opportunities to look at the program, and I'm sure we will all make sure that all of the correct letters of support and other things are included as part of the proposal.
Thank you, Caroline.
I'm Dave Wells of the Faculty of Leadership and Interdisciplinary Studies. I was just doing a quick course search to see when these courses had been offered. With History 439, and people can check for themselves, I see it offered now on the West Campus with 10 students. I can't find it offered in the last 2 years otherwise. The other class, 112, does seem to be offered every semester with one section of about 25 students, and it does seem to enroll.
Joan McGregor. I'm the president-elect from Tempe. I just wanted to ask a little bit about the procedure, because I know, having been the undergraduate director in philosophy, we get courses sent to us and asking questions about overlap and, exactly whether or not people are, offering courses that have philosophical content or not. That, yeah, I guess it's just, maybe it is just overlap with our programs. And so the idea that other units could cover the same territory, Professor Crease's comment about how they would be taught, different faculty will teach different courses in a slightly different way, and maybe the courses, that's where it seems to me, if there is a lot of overlap, the idea of seeing them as cross-listed might be a better, resolution with the faculty from the new school teaching them in a certain way. But, this kind of muddies the water of what we're really being asked when we're sent courses for our comment on them. That was my understanding. What we were doing was seeing whether or not particular courses have overlap with a particular unit's purview. So ultimately, history has an interest in these courses and has faculty who teach them regularly. And if there's enough students, and they could be cross-listed, that's fine. But I guess I'm just wondering, I don't know what happened at the college level, but I think there's enough question here that, I'd like to know why we couldn't just see this as kind of working together and cross-listing these courses.
Okay, I don't see anybody else at the mic. Is that true, Shirley?
That is correct.
So with that, I'm going to call the question. I believe I can do that, right, Denise? Can I get a motion for a vote? Is that what we need to do?
I'll read it again. It's, the question is, do you approve the new course proposals, CEL 305 and 320? Yes, no, or abstain?
We can vote.
Yes.
Okay, we have 100 votes in. Last call for voting. Arnie, I'm going to go ahead and close it.
Okay.
Motion is approved. Classes are approved. 48 yes, 29 no, 23 abstain.
Okay. Motion is approved. The courses are approved. I will give you one more ex parte remark, which is that I hope that, as a number of people have said, this does not end any collaboration between history and CEL. I think that would probably be very fruitful there for everybody, and I hope that that continues. Okay. After that, I think we have a rather anticlimactic committee reports. So, Chris, do you want to go ahead and do your committee
Arnie?
report?
We
Yes.
have old business, the CAPC proposals from the
I
last
apologize. Okay. Please go ahead, Caroline.
Hopefully this will still be non-controversial. The following proposals were approved at the CAPC meeting of November 2nd. We're presenting them now for the vote from the Senate. Request from the College of Nursing and Health Innovation for the disestablishment of a graduate certificate, Child and Adolescent Mental Health Intervention Specialist. Request from the School of Sustainability for the establishment of a graduate certificate, Environmental and Sustainability Economics. Request from the W.P. Carey School of Business, Morrison School of Agribusiness for the establishment of an undergraduate certificate, Risk Management.
Okay, comments on these proposals? Let's start in downtown. Anything downtown?
Nothing downtown, thank you.
Here at Poly, anybody? Nothing here. West?
No comment.
And anything, oh, please, there is, wait a minute.
With respect to the risk management, they're proposing, but looks like their focus is on economic risk management or overall risk management?
Do we have somebody from Morrison here? I'm pretty sure I know the answer, but please go ahead.
Let's go on economics.
Okay, because risk management is kind of the way it's written. I'm just looking at it. It's broad and maybe further problems again down in the future. So redefining it maybe to economic risk management would be much more focused and prevent down the road episodes like what we saw. Just a suggestion.
Okay, fair enough. It's a good suggestion. I wondered the same, to be very honest with you, when I saw it, but anyway. Other comments at Tempe?
No questions.
No questions at Tempe? All right, Chuck, go ahead and put up the resolution, please.
At Arnie, we have 90 votes, 91 votes. So last
Should be
call
good.
for voting. 86 yes, 1 no, 4 abstain.
And that's the most I've seen on that level since we've been doing this today. So anyway. Okay. And I hope you guys will continue to talk. That would be great if you would. All right, now we have committee reports, and Chris Kaselka is the first person to do that. So please, Chris.
Yes, good afternoon. The committee met recently, and our next meeting is coming up in January to consider nominations for the spring academic assembly elections. At the elections, we will be electing a new campus president-elect, as well as new members for CAF, Governance, Grievance, and the AP Grievance Committee. There was a survey that was recently distributed to the Academic Assembly asking for nominations. So senators, if you would, please ask your colleagues to consider self-nominating or encouraging your units to nominate others for these important offices. The deadline to nominate is Wednesday, December 6th. So thank you so much for your participation in this process. The committee looks forward to receiving those nominations.
Thank you, Chris. And let me emphasize again that this is the key to a lot of things that happen in this Senate and in shared governance. And as somebody who's been through all of those various rungs, I can tell you it's a useful and worthwhile exercise. Okay. To reiterate, it's December 6th, is that right? That we want everything back?
That's right.
December 6th, everybody. Okay, now we have a committee report from University Services and Facilities. Thurman Lockhart, please.
Hello, everyone. So our committee has identified several issues as we discussed a couple of weeks ago, and we are continuing to gather intel and try to actually solve some of these issues. But before that, we need some help from you guys. So we talked about the dark spotted areas and allocating, where that is. I've received about 2 emails actually indicating some of those spots, but we probably need some more information because it'll be very hard to just map out the whole entire campus. That's kind of almost impossible. So we need some help in that regard. Another issue that we are working with is lactation room. Yeah, that's I think last time anyway. So lactation room. In terms of Tempe campus, I think we have maybe 2. So we are in phase of counting some of these rooms. It appears there may be about 8 so far. We are looking into population-based type of calculation to assess if there's enough room for that, and then incorporate it into a map where lactation rooms are located. So we may need some help with that as well. And then another big issue that we come up with is maintenance. Maintenance of our buildings, classrooms, bathrooms, and things like that. Of course, we're building very, very nice buildings and everything. But, trashes are taken out, maybe twice a week or something like that, I heard. There are various locations in terms of restrooms that are, kind of plastic all over them and things like that. So, if you could help us identify those rooms and then send it to me via email, that would be great. And we're also looking at the parking structure as well and the sound levels and such. So those are a few levels of the details that we need. Thank you.
Thank you, Thurman. I think this is what we all live in, so I hope everybody will give Thurman as much help as we possibly can on all 4 campuses. Are there any comments on the committee reports from any of the other campuses? Let me start again with the downtown.
No comments here. Thank you.
Okay. Wes, any comments?
Comments from Wes.
Okay. Anybody have comments here? Nothing from Polly? Anybody at Tempe?
Nothing from Tempe.
All right. I'm about to, what's left on the agenda is what's called open forum for people who would like to just have their say about things. We've had some of that already today, of course, but we still have open forum for those who want to bring anything up. So let me start with Polly. Anybody have anything they want to bring up? Okay. West, anybody?
We do not, thanks. We have
Anything I can't? Okay. Downtown.
Thank you.
Shirley, anything at Tempe?
Yes, we have 2 people in line at the mic.
Okay.
Please introduce yourself.
James Lyons, School of Earth and Space Exploration. This is a long meeting, so I'll make this quick. As I think we all know, Congress, the U.S. Congress, is voting on a tax plan, and the House of Representatives has approved to remove the tuition waiver. Of course, that's the House, and they do all kinds of weird things. The Senate hasn't voted on their plan. Their plan does not include a removal of the tuition waiver, but this issue has come to the attention of the grad students, at least in my school, and I think in SMS. School of Molecular Sciences, and they're concerned. And I'm just, what the impact will be, just to cut to the chase, about a $3,000 decrease in their stipend, effective, assuming a tuition of about $25,000 or so. And I'm just wondering what the plan is. If this bill actually went through, the House version of this went through, what is the university plan to help the students with this shortfall that would result? Just put that question out there.
Let me speak just very. Do you want to talk to him? No. Okay. Let me make a note about that. First of all, I will ask again about the backup plan, but I do know that the provost has told me that we are looking very actively to lobby against this in Washington, that he's preparing some information for everybody about it, and I guess we ought to stay tuned on that process. But thanks for bringing it up. It's a pretty important thing to all of our graduate students, I would say.
Arnie, the Dean of the Graduate College, is here and wants to speak at the mic.
I just wanted to mention that Provost Searle sent this morning an email to all graduate students with information about this. Exactly what you mentioned, Arnie, that we are looking at this, advocating for considering the least impact for students, and that we will act and have very specific plans once we have the specific terms of the bill that is approved, if it gets to that point. But the information has been sent out to all students as of this morning.
Thank you very much.
Stefania Tracogna from mathematics. My concern is not as important as the one that was just brought up, but anyway, I've been asked by my unit to bring it up to the Senate. So currently it's a USU policy that all online students have a picture on file. However, this policy is not enforced. Instructors teaching online courses in my units have reported that more than 70% of students do not have a picture on file. And this is an issue with regards to academic integrity. I contacted the SunCard office, and this is what they told me. I'm quoting here. Our office does not have any way to implement this policy. We do not have the ability to put holds on students' accounts or prevent them from services until this is done. We have inquired about this in the past, but the requests have been denied. So the obvious question would be why it was denied, but I have a more practical question, which is if a USU cannot implement this policy, can the instructor do it? Can the instructors put a clause in the syllabus stating that grades will be withheld until students have an official picture on file? And if students still do not comply, can the instructors actually go through with it and withhold the grades?
Well, I certainly don't know the answer to that one. I do know that I've brought this up to Fred Corey. I don't know where it's gone beyond that. And Deborah, you don't have anything on it? So we'll have to take that back to the administration, and we'll try to get you an answer. I appreciate it. Thanks for bringing it up, because academic integrity continues to be a significant issue. We hope to have an interim report from that organization sometime in January or February. Anybody else? Well, thank you all. I think we're adjourned.